H-1B visas, we used to tell people in other countries, hey, if you have a job offer from a company that's going to pay you a lot of money, the minimum salary is like $60,000. So that's supposed to indicate that you're a high-skilled worker, that you provide a lot to society, you're very knowledgeable. Then we'll let you come here and stay in the US for 6 years.
So we are benefiting as a whole from some of this, right?
Yeah, we get new inventions because these are, a lot of these people are researchers. They research new inventions. So they demand low-skilled people's labor without competing with them on the job market. What that does is it moves demand up for low-skilled workers without moving supply up. So low-skilled workers' wages go up. So the companies benefit. They want this company's labor. Or they want this person's labor, they're able to more easily expand, right? I would argue even removing the cap is fine on the basis of national security, even if wages go down to some extent. At the end of the day, we're 4.2% of the population. China's 17% of the population. They're always going to have a higher pool, skill pool than we do because they have way more people than we do. In order for the US to maintain our technological superiority, which is important for our military, we need to draw from other nations. If you want to see more content like this, I would really appreciate you liking and subscribing. It really helps with the algorithm. And make sure to check out the Discord and other social links in the description.
And welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful, marvelous, amazing holiday. Whatever you did, whether it's with family, friends, or sitting at home by yourself, which I have a very big appreciation for that. I hope it was well and enjoyable. But we're back running live again, starting with Throwdown Thursday. I know for my holiday, I had a very nice time with the kiddos. We even had a special visit. Our friend, Just Gerald, came out. He was actually in the area. So I went and I had a nice dinner and had some great conversation discussing from the viewer's perspective. It's very interesting to see what you guys think from your end. But this evening, Nonfon is joining me to discuss the H-1B replacement and what it is and what it's about and where do we stand on it. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it ugly? I don't know. But hello, Nonfon, and welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's about time you got your seat up here. I've been waiting for the right subject for you, and I knew it had to be a political one, but I hate politics. I absolutely hate politics. It drives me insane thinking about all the ridiculousness and yada, 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 and it just gets absolutely overwhelming. But you like politics.
Yeah, I try to follow it as much as I can tolerate it, yeah.
Yeah. So what got you interested in politics to begin with, or even following any of it to a minor degree or a major degree?
It's hard for me to remember. I don't know why. Apparently, I've always been relatively politically active for someone my age. Back in 7th or 8th grade, I remember watching the DNC debates between, Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. So I think initially I was into that, and I was really into some of Bernie's politics, and I followed that pretty closely. Later, as I've grown up, I'm still only 19, but grown up, right? Gotten older.
Hold on, stop. I didn't even realize you were that young. I am not making fun of you. I just think it's so it's like terms of endearment. Like, it's so precious how young you are, but yet you're so smart and intelligent, and I have a lot of respect for you and how you carry yourself very professionally. It's very sweet that you're only 19. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, listen, people usually think I'm younger than I am, okay? That used to be an issue. So, I appreciate it. But, as I've gotten a little older, I say shifting to the right more. I would still say I'm left to center, but I very much, for whatever reason, I enjoy reading about economic stuff, and I try to follow what the Democrats are doing economically and what the Republicans are doing economically as much as I can.
That's fair. So would you say the economics is probably your favorite portion of it?
I mean, I would say generally, yeah. I mean, there are other things I care about, but I would say economics is what I've been focusing on most recently, at least, yes.
So what is it about I know this is not on topic, but now you've intrigued me. Your big brain over there, I absolutely just adore it. So in the economics, like how do you follow that, and what are you what are you tracking when you're talking about economics?
I mean, I guess like to follow it, like thank you, Ghosty. Wow. I guess there are different types of economics. Obviously, some people are interested in developmental economics. They're interested in how countries develop. They go from poor countries to rich countries. Other people are interested in monetary economics. They're interested in what the central bank does and how its policies affect the economy. I guess I'm primarily focused in. I would say the overall well-being of the U.S. economy. So when I follow it, I look at, the inflation measures that come out every month. There's a few different measures of inflation. I try to look at what all them are every month. And then I track, what the Federal Reserve does in response to those numbers, the job numbers as well. The GDP numbers, although they don't explicitly target them, I think they do look at them and they are important. And I guess, occasionally there'll be specific topics like this where I look into what I think the effects of immigration are, or what I think the effects of a proposed welfare program would be, things like that. I try to follow, yeah.
Huh. If you could fix the economy with something, right? Like, what would you do to fix it if you could?
I guess
How do you view it?
there'd be basically two things I'd want to do. One, I would want to, they kind of lump into one thing. I would want to simplify the tax code and also simplify our welfare system. So simplifying the tax code, right now we have way too many, random deductions for random things. So like our corporate tax is inefficient. Some of the incidence falls on, sometimes you end up taxing investment. You never want to do that. So what I would do there is something called a destination-based cash flow tax. It's a fancy word, but all it is basically you tax a company's cash flow. And what that does is it ends up only taxing, some portion of the profits and not any of the investment they do. And it's more efficient than like the regular standard corporate income tax. And it doesn't have some crazy deductions which make our tax code more complicated. With regards to our welfare system, I think the big issue right now is we have a ton of different welfare programs split up, like one for food, like one for children, one for medical insurance. It's not super efficient. I prefer we do more like unconditional cash benefits, like just giving, some people, there's one proposal called a negative income tax where you tax people negatively on their income. So if they don't earn enough, you just give them money. I mean, the easiest way to view it is we have an institution for reducing your income. That institution is called the IRS. There's no need to have 40 different institutions like food stamps that also reduce your income by taking away your benefits as your income increases, because again, that institution already exists. Let's just use one institution that already exists to do it, rather than 40 different institutions. I think those would be the two big things that I would do.
So would you say there's a lot of red tape? Like too many ins and outs going and like crossfiring in different directions?
Yeah, this is a big issue for welfare and a big issue for housing. So, for welfare, some programs are insane. Like it's like literally 2/3 of people who qualify for them just don't get the benefits because it's a lot of paperwork to fill out. Sometimes they fill it out incorrectly. Sometimes they don't know that they're eligible. And it's a big issue. There's too much red tape there. And then I think, there are some regulations, like we overregulate housing. We don't let companies build certain types of homes in certain areas. I don't think that's good. There are probably some other sectors that are overregulated. I couldn't really name them off the top of my head, but there are too many regulations in some areas.
Wow, this is impressive. You are really smart. I don't feel like I deserve you. Let's get through a couple super chats. Finkel coming in with a big 50. He sent this very early on. He says, what's H1B? Is this a new flu strain? No. And actually, we're going to have Nonfon, the smart one here, explain it here shortly. But yes, H1B has nothing to do with any illness of any sort. But it is a political thing, like in terms of, I guess it's kind of like a legislation, right? It's a style of regulation it's not immigration, but it's like visas, right?
It's kind of related to naturalization. The way it works, it's supposed to be a temporary work visa, but in effect, it does kind of act as an immigration thing, because although you only get to work here temporarily once you get the visa, what you can do is apply for a green card with your employer once you are here, and most people do that. So in effect, it is often an immigration policy.
I see. So it's kind of like getting your foot in the door.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. And then Finkel coming in with another 50. He says, did somebody say politics? Reminder, vote Finkel 2028. We love you, Finkel. Finkel for president. And just Gerald coming in with a big 10. A dude's going to get carded till he's 40. You'll enjoy it at 30, non-fun. This is true. I would even imagine by 50, you're still going to be getting carded. I actually got a shocker the other day. I was carded, and I was like, really? Why?
Wow.
Like, I know I'm the old lady in the house. It works. And
what do they have to card you if you're under 40? You don't look over 40.
I believe it's 28. If you look like you're under 28, here in Maryland at least, you have to like kind of pass the, like definitely mature enough to be, 20. Maybe I'm just immature. Maybe I just look like I act like a child. I don't know. And Ticky Tack coming in with the big 10. I believe this is asking you, what is comparative advantage?
This is a reference to a previous debate we had. Comparative advantage is the ability to produce something at a lower opportunity cost.
What? Say that again?
It's the ability to produce something at a lower opportunity cost. So opportunity cost is basically the cost of the next best alternative of your resources. So if I buy a sandwich for $10, not only do I have to pay $10, I'm foregoing all the other things I could have bought with that $10. So the $10 is the cost of the sandwich, but the hot dog is part of the opportunity cost. I could have bought the hot dog with that. So when it comes to like countries and things and people as well, sometimes a country can be more efficient overall at producing things. For example, the US is probably more efficient at producing shoes than Vietnam. We could make more shoes in Vietnam with our educated labor, right? But the opportunity cost for the US is high, because everyone making a shoe in the US is someone that is not making an iPhone. When I say making an iPhone, I don't mean building one, I mean designing one, or not making SpaceX rockets. Vietnam can't do that. They don't have the educated workforce. They don't have enough knowledge to design iPhones or to go to space, right? So even if we're more efficient at producing shoes overall, Vietnam doesn't have to give up as much to produce shoes. So they would have a comparative advantage in producing shoes.
I see. This sounds really smart, but I think I actually get it. You are very good at dumbing it down for me. Thank you. Hot dogs, sandwiches, shoes, and iPhones. I like it. So what was the debate you had with Ticky Tack? Like, what were you guys discussing where he's bringing up comparative advantage?
It was over Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris's economic policy. I was citing more of Kamala. There were some things from her I don't like, and he was citing more of Trump. And part of the conversation had to do with the tariffs that Trump is proposing. And comparative advantage plays a part in that, because, if Vietnam has a comparative advantage in making shoes, it's actually better for both of us if they make shoes and we specialize in making what we're good at and we trade. And tariffs can prevent that. But
kind of like, would I waste my time on something so simple, or would I rather invest my time in something that's more expansive? And that makes sense. Whereas, like, if you're saying Vietnam doesn't have the resources and abilities to do something like SpaceX or even build a rocket ship, like, it's better use of their time and efforts to have them doing something very simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what if Vietnam, and this is just my brain going, what if Vietnam wants to, like, further advance itself and try to focus its time doing smarter things, let's say, to attempt to build a spaceship, but their people are too tied up, pun intended, with making shoes? How would a country like shift that ability?
So there's different schools of economic thought that'll approach it differently. So one justification for tariffs can be what's called like an infant industry argument, right? So Vietnam could, tariff certain goods because they want to focus their own domestic production on trying to build up a space industry, when right now their space industry is being outcompeted by SpaceX. So you don't let your own people use SpaceX and you try to build up your own space industry. There's differing levels of evidence for how well that works. People will debate it. Libertarians super hate it. There are some Keynesians who are okay with it. There are some more like right-wing economists who are somewhat okay with it. And then the sort of competing view is that, like, well, generally trade leads to enhancements in, growth and productivity. So like over time with trade, if you grow faster, you'll be able to get to building rockets faster because less people will need to focus at making shoes because you get better at making shoes over time. Especially if with trade you have foreign, people investing in your country and they make your country more productive at investing shoes. Well, that means you have more people to go build rockets. Those are the kind of two competing views, and people will debate it. I don't have a super strong opinion.
That's fair. That's fair. Wrongful rage coming in with the Big 10 because Nightbot dared me to. Have fun. I'll be listening while I work, but no whistling. I'm no dwarf. Well, enjoy working, Wrongful Rage. Hopefully we can provide some entertainment for you this evening and get the humdrum moving on. And Lawyer Chick coming in with the Big 5. Donation to the host, Lip Gloss Fun. Great panel and topic. Thank you, Lawyer Chick. And Finkel coming in with another 50. He says, dang, this kid. Sorry, young man is smart. And yes, I started entering this before the Harris-Trump compare. Yes, he's a big Harris fan. So I think you took Finkel's heart tonight.
Ah, hell yeah.
And this one's for you, Rhodes on Break coming in with the Big 5. Can you ask Nonfon what his community is called? Are you in a community? Is this a joke?
Yeah, so this is my buddy, Isaac. Okay. This is an unfortunate, it wasn't really an oversight because I didn't know about this when I made it. So you've spoken to Destiny before, right? Him and his community. Mm-hmm. So his website is destiny.gg. And his fans are called DGGers because of that. Fortunately, my name is Nonfon. Sure, if we could do if you can do the math of replacing the D and GGGers with N, you can see the issue there. This was not intentional. Okay.
Oh.
I made this name when I was like 12 years old. I didn't even know Destiny existed back then. I had no clue what a DGGer is. This is not intentional. Screw you, Isaac. Anyway.
NGGer. Well, now I can't wait until you get famous and you get super big, and now that becomes your community. People are going to be like, what?
It's unfortunate. I should have thought of it. I don't know.
But... Oh, it's okay. I think you should run with it. Maybe. Carefully, but maybe. You poor thing.
Listen, it's fine. Listen, okay? The world is no longer as woke as it used to be, okay? I think I'll make it. I think I'll make it.
You'll be all right. Especially because you're a very white dude. And I think that's what makes it even more funny. Yeah. And so we're gonna roll with it, and I think you should make the best of it.
I appreciate it.
And of course, Flow State coming in with the Big 2 for the pun. I know you appreciated that, Flow State. I said that one just for you, not even knowing if you were watching or not. All right. Okay. So let's H1B, as we were saying, is basically a visa program. Now, I know backstage we were kind of discussing a little bit, but it is basically a way in which people can come work here. Actually, I'll let you explain.
Yeah, basically, there's some asterisks to this because of government regulation is complicated, but the way it's supposed to work, H1B visas are supposed to be, there's a number of them that we give out a year, a couple thousand, we used to tell people in other countries, hey, if you have a job offer from a company that's going to pay you a lot of money, the minimum salary is like $60,000. So that's supposed to indicate that you're a high skill worker, that you provide a lot to society, you're very knowledgeable. Then we'll let you come here and stay in the US for 6 years. It's supposed to be a non-immigrant visa, meaning it doesn't automatically like grant you a green card and like permanent status. In practice, though, once you are here, what you can do is apply for a green card with your employer, and then you'll end up being able to stay here. So not everyone does that, but a lot of people do that. So in effect, it does act as an immigration policy for a lot of people. There are a few issues, like the minimum salary right now, I would say is probably too low. There are a lot of people who aren't truly high skill that are able to get here with the H1B visa, but that is relatively easily solved by just raising the minimum salary, so we only get the best of the best of the Indian workers.
Mm-hmm. So what would be the qualifications? Like, I think it's like very specific to your field though, right?
Well, I believe you have to have a college degree, I think at least a bachelor's degree, and then you have to have a job offer from a company. So, Google has to already say, you are offered this job. And then what happens, this is another flaw, is that there's a lottery system, because like 400,000 people apply for it and we only give out like 80,000 a year. So we have a lottery to randomly select who wins. That's not quite efficient, because really we should want just the highest skilled people to come over here. So we should probably just say whoever's going to get paid the most money should come over here, because that probably indicates that they're very high productivity, high skilled. So I think that's what's intended to do, bring high skilled people over here. And there's two issues with that can be relatively easily fixed.
What would be the issues?
Well, low skilled people who really shouldn't be included in the visa are able to get in with the visa, because it can go to low paying people, and it doesn't automatically go to the highest productivity person. It just randomly selects people from the list, when really we should go from highest to lowest productivity.
Hypothetically, let's say I have a bachelor's degree in like some kind of customer service hospitality or something. Essentially, could I utilize that, receive a job offer to do customer service or hospitality, and be brought over?
I believe you could.
If I won the lottery. Yeah,
it's just not many of those industries are going to be paying $60,000 a year to an immigrant. So it's not, that isn't super common. The median salary is about $86,000, and like the majority of these workers are in like the high tech sector. These are people that are high productivity. They work for companies like Google, Amazon, Meta, and they make a lot of patents. I believe they make more patents than native-born workers, which shows that they're making more inventions than native-born workers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So we are benefiting as a whole from some of this, right?
Yeah. So I would say there's a few benefits. So one, companies are able to more easily expand, right? Like there's just added labor. You can make arguments that the labor market right now is actually too tight. That's less true for tech, but even tech is still increasing the number of jobs that they have, despite some layoffs in certain companies. Tech lays off 40,000 people in a good month. That hasn't really been increasing lately. So the companies benefit. They want this company's labor, or they want this person's labor. They're able to more easily expand, right? We get more tax revenue because of the business expansion. We get new products because of the business expansion. We get new inventions because these are, a lot of these people are researchers. They research new inventions. The immigrant obviously benefits, whether or not, they're not American, so arguably the government should care about them less. But the immigrant wants to work here. They earn a higher salary than they otherwise would have in their home country. And then, society as a whole benefits because of the aforementioned new inventions, new business expansion, and new products. There's also the argument that obviously there's a point people bring up. If you imported enough of these workers, you would see wages in the tech sector go down. Now, the evidence suggests that you would have to import quite a lot of workers to do that, and we aren't quite at that level, and they don't really seem to be pushing wages down that much. But importantly, they demand services from people without college degrees. Cash. They still go to the grocery store and buy goods from cashiers, right? Like, so they demand low-skilled people's labor without competing with them on the job market. What that does is it moves demand up for low-skilled workers without moving supply up. So low-skilled workers' wages go up. So those people benefit as well.
Okay. So the flaw I'm seeing is kind of like the lottery, as you were pointing out, because I feel like if there's a lottery, because I was reading earlier that it could be, what was it, anywhere from 2 to 8 months before you can even, like they even run, I guess, get the approval and get the lottery or whatever. And then, I mean, as an employer, if you're not even sure if that person would get it, I mean, do you have other people lined up? Like, how would this look for that?
Yeah, I mean, there is, you know what, this is interesting. There's evidence that because of the cost of going through the process to get this immigrant hired, which is more than a native worker, companies are more likely to just offshore. It can actually be less effort for them to just hire people that are already in India than bring these people, you know, from India to here. So I guess, I mean, this is an issue with like a lot of government policy. It's like, it's not optimal. There are ways to make it optimal. But I think on the whole, it is still beneficial despite its flaw that, you know, the lottery system is inefficient.
Yeah, I was reading it. It was like, I think $5,000 about just to apply for all of this, which I'm assuming the company would pay for that. But it's not even a guarantee. Like there's no, especially if it's in a lot. If they're only picking what I think it was like 20,000 people, and you know, anything above that, if anybody's applying, I mean, that would be really tough. And then wrongful rage comes in with the Big Ten. You're the whitest NGGer I've seen. South African, my guess. How is the farm?
I don't think I can comment on this. I don't think I can make a comment. Okay, I don't know.
We're gonna roll with the NGGer for quite some time. That's hilarious. I feel like you should change your whole name and everything. NGGer community. And I promise anybody just tuning in, we're not being racist. You have to rewind like 10 minutes and you get the full story. Okay, so right. So if the lottery is just not a guarantee, then I mean, you were saying the incentive would essentially be to go to them, but then even more so, would they have to like start a whole company overseas? Would it be cost effective to do that?
It can be. I mean, there are a few different ways that you can hire people overseas. I mean, you can make your own company in that, you know, in that region and just hire them directly. I think what happens more often is that they just contract people. So there is a, you know, there's a Indian tech company and you just say, hey, we're going to give you money so some of your workers work for us, and you sign a contract and you just contract them out.
Oh, can you do that? Like you can,
I mean,
I would think that dealing with the overseas stuff would be a little more red tapey.
I mean, it's more red tape than doing some things domestically, but like we have trade agreements with a lot of other countries. So we a lot of times we remove as much red tape as we can. There are political incentives that make it hard to remove for countries to remove all the red tape. But like, you know, generally we have good trade relations with other countries. We sign trade agreements, so there aren't that many trade barriers, and it works out relatively well sometimes.
Oh, that's fair. Somebody said, oh, you mean like a corporate coup? What would that be?
A corporate, I mean, I guess I don't see how that's particularly relevant, but like a corporate coup, I mean, like shareholders can do like a hostile takeover of a company.
Say coup.
A coup. I think he means coup. Yeah, I mean, like if you don't like who the CEO of a company is, like you can do a hostile takeover where like you get shareholders on your side and you have to, you know.
That sounds like a lot of. Well, I mean, essentially, I would guess we'd be utilizing countries that, you know, our minimum wage to them would be more than they would typically make. I mean,
yeah, well,
I mean, maybe not all countries would be third world or anything like that, but I'd assume it'd be more of a like grateful to the idea that you have that opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, H-1B workers are majority Indian. The next most is Chinese. So, I mean, they aren't necessarily fully third world countries. They're somewhat developed. But yeah, they have more opportunity here than they do in their native countries. And they can give that opportunity to us. And then we can tax them on that opportunity and steal their money so we can fund our government and plug the hole in the deficit.
That makes sense. Okay, so going forward, now, did you kind of looked up the H1B1 replacement, the thing that is going through right now, or something to that degree, where it's supposed to, again, my understanding is very minimal on it, where it's supposed to kind of like block Trump and some plans that he has for later. Do you have any idea what that is or what's going on with that?
I know a little bit of it. So, like, I know one change they're trying to make is, like, right now, like, we have student visas, so you can come here and work get your degree as a student, and then sometimes it's hard to immediately get a job after you go out of college and apply for like an H1B visa. That means a lot of people come here, get educated at our good schools, which are partially publicly funded, and use public utilities, and then just leave. So in effect, we've just granted them some level of free college. Obviously, they still pay for some of it, and they still pay some taxes while they're here. So I think one thing Biden did is they're trying to make it easier for people to, to get like a temporary work visa after their student visa is expired. I think they also, I think they approved some of them. I think they ran the lottery or whatever. Yeah.
So if you are a student, like an immigrant or, visa student, and you graduate from college, like you have to apply into that H-1B visa program just to get a job here?
Yeah, essentially. There are other routes, but yeah, that's a common, yeah.
Wow. So they still are like up for a lot. Like you have no idea if you're even going to be able to then like, so then at all the student job careers like that they have at the, like that would actually kind of be like I might be able to stay. I might not. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Then that means people don't want to come here because they don't know if they're going to stay. And sometimes people don't even like, they come here, but then they say, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay. So why would I even bother looking for jobs?
Right. Wow. Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost too rich. And I wonder what the actual percent chance is of you getting it.
I don't know exactly, but it's not particularly high. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I mean, I guess it is beneficial essentially to have people coming, like, because we want to, the goal would be to bring the best minds here. But if it goes into a lottery, kind of like what you were saying earlier, then are you really getting the best minds, or are you just getting whatever the lottery determines?
Yeah, you're not getting, only relatively high skilled people can apply in the first place, but you're not getting the best of the best. You're just getting, random assignments of the relatively best. So again, it's not optimal, and there are changes we could make, which I support making, and it seems like Biden's trying to do at least some of them. But I still think on the whole, skilled immigration is probably a pretty good thing.
Right. Okay. So what else are they trying to change? You were talking about the student visas. Was there something else they were trying to change as well?
Yeah, I think I don't know exactly what this means, but they're just trying to modernize it so it's easier for employers to fill vacancies, which, there's a number of ways they could do that. But they also want to make sure that, like, the degree you hold is directly linked to the visa application, the job linked to the visa application, because you do need a college degree. The concern is like, well, what if someone just starts a college in India and gives out like fake degrees, and then all these people with fake degrees can just apply to the H-1B visa and potentially get in. So doing this makes sure that, you don't have degree mills, whereas I think is probably good. Although you should also just have the option to buy citizenship, but yeah.
To buy citizenship?
We already do basically have this option. I think, yeah, like I think right now, if you show that you can invest like $500,000 in a rural area, then they'll give you a green card. And if you create 10 jobs, I think as well, they give you a green card. I think that's probably good incentives to set up so we get, foreign investment. Yeah.
That makes sense. To just the way you said it was like, yeah. All right. So then if these changes go through, do you know how that would affect, like, did Trump have any specific plan against this? Or I was a little confused on that.
So, I mean, Trump has a little bit flip-flopped on it. Basically, I don't think he's ever made a strong statement about H-1B visas before this. I think a while ago he came out and said, like, I want to give a green card to everyone who graduates college in America. And then later people got mad at him, so he walked it back. And this recent spat, Trump appointed, 2 people to be AI advisors, and they were pro-skilled immigration. Part of it being, H-1Bs. So a lot of people got mad at him for that. And, Elon Musk kind of came in to defend him. Elon Musk was arguing with people on Twitter saying, actually, no, these visas are really important. Elon Musk himself came in on an H-1B visa in the 1990s. And I think it's...
Did he really?
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's clear, like, Elon Musk, I mean, whether or not you agree with his beliefs, to some extent represents the, American dream of, like, being an immigrant, moving here and becoming successful, even if what he did with that success, you could argue was bad because people argue he bought the election and, he bought Twitter and made it a right-wing cesspit or whatever. To some extent, I agree with them. But, he clearly represents being able to come here and be successful. But I think Trump has basically come out and said he doesn't want to do anything, is my understanding. But he has spoken about it poorly in the past, but I think Elon Musk has changed his mind on it, so that's good.
Oh. Well, I think there's something else that Elon Musk was like, that now there's a whole big like craze about Elon, like people on X losing their verified stuff, and there's now censorship going through.
Yeah,
are you following that?
I have not been following that. All I saw is that Nick Fuentes was complaining about being censored, but then it got a fair amount. It got like 1.6 million views on that tweet. So people were saying, it doesn't seem like he's being censored, but right. I don't know. Maybe one of his past posts were censored. I don't know. But also, he's Nick Fuentes, so it wouldn't surprise me if he says something against Twitter's terms of service and got censored because of that. Because he's the type of guy that would say something against Twitter's terms of service.
That makes sense. I mean, it would like... I know there's a big thing, like people are losing their blue check marks and stuff, all sorts of stuff going on. I don't know. I've spent the whole day like kind of riffing through trying to figure out what the heck was going on, but it was very confusing. But now, like, I guess how you were saying how Elon kind of like took X and it became this whole big right wing thing, and now the right wing's kind of like turning on Elon because now X is no longer a free speech territory.
I mean, yeah. I don't follow it super closely. I just think, regardless, I don't particularly like Elon Musk, but, I could acknowledge that he, to some extent, represents the American dream of coming over as an immigrant and becoming successful and delivering that success to your children as well. Like,
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So where do you think the best fix for this H-1B would necessarily be? We kind of talked about the lottery program. Like, what else could we do to make it better?
Yeah, so I would say, end the lottery. I think we need to do. Implement a higher minimum salary. I would also support I would argue even removing the cap would be fine. Now, removing the cap would almost certainly push down wages in the tech sector. Personally, I wouldn't mind to see wages go down a little bit. These are people already in the top 10% of workers. If they go from the top 10% of workers to top 20% of workers, but everyone else gets better tech innovation. This is high tech. This is hugely important, not just for Americans, but for the Western world in general, because
Right.
national security relies on these industries, right? Semiconductors are really important. We need, like, I think there's like a Semiconductor Association of America, they're investing a lot of money into semiconductor construction right now because they get government subsidies for doing so. Thanks to my man, Joe Biden. They estimate that even though they are training Americans to run these semiconductor plants, they need at least 60,000 people from foreign nations to come here. So I would argue even removing the cap is fine on the basis of national security, even if wages go down to some extent. At the end of the day, we're 4.2% of the population. China's 17% of the population. They're always going to have a higher pool, skill pool than we do because they have way more people than we do. In order for the U.S. to maintain our technological superiority, which is important for our military, we need to draw from other nations so that we can, balance this out with China. China currently has more high-skill STEM educated people than we do. I think that's concerning, and we need to
Step it up.
I say
Import it?
I don't want to use the word leech off other countries, but take other countries, skilled laborers and have them support us as well. Yeah.
Well, okay, let's say we remove the cap. Let me go ahead. I'm going to drop the link for Open Panel Dumpster Fire if anybody wants to start popping backstage, and I'll bring you guys on in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that, and now the link is pinned. So let's pretend we remove the cap. Would you think if you removed the cap that maybe we should ensure that the qualification should be like superior to all, like, and it's very
I would say in order to remove
ridiculous.
In order to remove the cap, we first have to fix the issue that low skill people can get in right now. Because I am generally in favor of lower skill immigration too, but this is supposed to be for high skilled immigration. If we want to control the amount of high skilled people entering, then this visa should only be for high skilled immigration. We have to make sure only high skilled people are allowed in on this visa. If we want to separately control how many people are coming in to low skilled immigration, we can do that. Yeah.
Where do you, how would you define high skilled? Like, at what point does it make the difference?
I think it's probably best to just do it by salary because, although, certainly, technically not all high salary jobs are high skill. I think that, I want to have a great definition of what entails high skill exactly. And if I don't have that, I don't think the U.S. government has that. So I think the best way for the U.S. government to enforce only high skill immigration is to just say, well, the market is going to pay high skill people more. So we're just going to say, if the market values you at $80,000 a year, then that is high skill enough where you're a benefit, a big benefit for society, and you should come here. I don't know exactly where I would draw the line. I would say I think the median salary is about $80,000. I would probably be fine with making the minimum salary $70,000 or $80,000. I don't know the evidence for what exactly is the optimal number. So.
Yeah, because I feel like, 70 or 80,000 here on the East Coast, it's barely anything. That's like, I feel like that's just kind of average. So I think also maybe destination would be an important piece of that factor based on how much, they're going to be getting paid, because it just depends on where you are and what you're doing and what's the arena look like in that aspect.
Certainly a lot of these people are moving to San Francisco and LA, which are very expensive to live in. Now, most of them know that, right? And there's opportunity that's provided in America that they couldn't possibly get in India, so they're okay with, paying more to do that. But
right.
Yeah,
Gestural comes in with a big 10, says, how high is the minimum salary? And then also, nice sweatshirt, thank you.
Currently, I believe it's 60,000 is the minimum, but there are exemptions to that, which we maybe should get rid of too.
That's fair. That's fair. And James coming in with the Big Ten. Is there evidence that H-1Bs actually improve the innovation in tech versus just cutting labor costs so tech execs can just pump their stock price and stock option compensation?
Yeah, there's evidence that I have some few studies here, but there is evidence that immigrants actually produce more patents than native workers. And there's also evidence that, so the lottery system is probably inefficient in terms of like what immigrants come over. It's very good for giving economists natural experiments because we know what firms won the lottery and what firms didn't win the lottery. So we can test, this firm won the lottery, got H-1B visas, and this firm didn't, and we can compare them. They're very comparable. What we find is that like there doesn't seem to be effects of reduced wages or reduced native-born employment, but there does seem to be effects of, for example, startups having successful exits, successfully becoming a big company, and getting listed publicly or getting bought out. There's evidence that, again, they file more patents, they make more inventions. There's evidence that because of the they enable business expansion, which again lets them hire more native-born workers. Because if you were trying to enter into a new business enterprise and there's only so many domestic workers willing to work here, at least at the price you're willing to pay, taking in some immigrants will say, well, hey, I already have these people working as immigrants. For some of them are paid a lower wage because they are immigrants and willing to accept a lower wage. That enables me to also hire fewer native workers. But if I wasn't able to hire the immigrants, I wouldn't have been able to afford this new business venture at all. So it's still a net benefit for American workers because otherwise those people just wouldn't have a job.
Okay, that's fair. All right, let's go into open panel dumpster fire, and then we can really have some fun.
If you want to chat with me live, sub here or go to Nonfon 420 on Twitch or Kick via the links below. Once again, please like and sub to help with the algorithm, and consider sending a donation through YouTube Super Thanks to directly support me, and I'll make sure to reply to any question you ask. See you guys next time.